Hey everybody, it's Daniel. Today we are going to be working on getting the scratches out of our acrylic fish tank. I'm going to be walking you guys through the steps that we're taking to achieve this and show you kind of a general idea of the way that I've figured out how to do this. First of all, we got the tank emptied, cleared out. Conveniently, we just bought a house and moved, so we had to do it anyway. But I'm going to be doing the entire tank. As you can see, the back wall is obviously solid black, so I don't really have to do that one, but the sides, the front, and the top I'm going to be working on getting the scratches out of. And as you can see, the outside of the tank is wet. Let me see if I can focus here a little bit. Sorry about that. But you can see all those fine scratches on the inside. Some of them are on the outside as well. And what we're going to be doing here is a wet dry sand, and essentially you're using wet dry sandpaper to sand down the insides of the tank as well as the outsides if you choose to. So let me show you guys what products we got to use today. Got our wet dry sandpaper. First of all, we have 400 grit, 2000 and 1000. I'm going to start with the 400 grit, work my way up to 1000, and then 2000 being the finest. The higher the number, the finer the grit. So obviously the lower the number, the more coarse it is, that's the more abrasive it's going to be on the tank. I'm going to start by hand with one side and see how that works, and based on what my results are there, I'm going to be doing probably the rest of the tank with a palm sander. In addition to the sandpaper, I've got microfiber rags, some gloves. Up top we got a little bit of under soap for cleaning it out afterwards, and bag of rags, and finally our Novus 3-part plastic restoring and scratch remover. That's what's going to be the final touch of getting the scratches out of the fish tank. So if your primary need for seeing this video is this product, feel free to skip ahead to when you see me using that, because initially we're going to be working on the sanding first and getting the scratches out with the sandpaper, and then finally we'll move to using that product to polish off and make everything look really nice and crystal clear. Alright, so the first thing I've done after cleaning the tank out real well, we're going to wipe the wall or the panel that you're going to be working on down just with a dry rag. That'll get any kind of debris. As you can see, there's still a little bit of maybe fish tank gunk in there, as well as if there's any pieces of sand or dirt that could actually end up making your scratches worse if you don't get those cleaned off first. So I'm going to focus mainly on this whole area today. Like I said, I'm going to do it by hand and then maybe tackle the rest of the tank with the palm sander, because it's obviously a lot bigger. We're going to see how it goes. This is kind of my trial area, and then based on how I feel about it, we'll start tackling the rest of the tank. So we're going to wipe it down real good, make sure there's no debris on it, get it nice and cleaned off here, and that will also help the sandpaper not get clotted up with anything that keep it from doing its job. So I ripped off like a small section of sandpaper that I'm going to double up on and use in a circular motion, reason being that the scratches are all going in different directions, they're not just going one way or the other. Sanding it in a circular motion will reduce the depth of all the scratches on the surface, versus if you only go in one direction, you'll end up just gouging in one area a little bit deeper than the rest of it, and you can see it later on. So use a circular motion when you're sanding. This is 400 grit. We're going to go ahead and dip it in water, start sanding, continuously dipping it in water to keep it wet so that we don't accumulate too much dust or anything like that in the tank while we're working on it. Give it a go here, we'll see how it works. A little bit awkward to grab because it's kind of a difficult part of the tank to work on. As you can see, I just kind of work it down in a row to get more hazier and hazier as we go. Work it both ways. Alright guys, so I got this side panel done with the 400 grit sandpaper. As you can see, it's kind of just got this like milky haze to it. Let me see if I can pull focus here. Let me get on the other side here. This is a new camera, so forgive my trial and error pulling focus with it here. But anyway, you can see that it's kind of got this like milky haze to it, and that's essentially what we're looking for, is that we want to bring the acrylic all to one plane and one level. And some of these bigger scratches that you're seeing are actually on the outside of the tank, like these two right here. Those are on the outside of the tank, and the finer ones are on the inside of the tank. And like I said, you're essentially scratching the tank to an even level and then making those scratches finer and then finally polishing them out. So as long as you're consistent with your sanding and making sure that you kind of check your work as you go. I stopped a couple times, hosed it out, looked at it, found a couple of spots where maybe I went a little too hard with the sanding, had to blend those back in, and then sprayed it down, checked it again, maybe found another spot or two here and there, did the same thing, blended them in, and I even see a little bit more here on the edge where I need to blend them in as well. So I'm just going to keep doing that and then move up to 1000 grit, and it'll continue to get better and better hopefully. So let's try that. I'm learning as I go here too, folks. This is, again, that's why I'm doing just one side. I want to get the feel of it, see how I like it. Maybe I need to use a certain grit sandpaper a little more than the other. I don't know. That's why I'm trying to do only a small section and then work my way to a bigger section as I fine-tune my technique. Gonna move up to the 1000 grit now. Again, wet dry sandpaper. Best to do it when it's wet, and this is essentially wet dry sandpaper will not disintegrate when it's wet. That's why you want to use it. You can't just use regular sandpaper because it's literally like paper. It will just kind of dissolve and melt away in water. So this brand is Gator, and I got it from a True Value store, and you can pretty much find all the products at one of those hardware stores or any kind of big box store. And again, I'm just kind of, I don't know, maybe a third of a sheet. And each pack had like 5 sheets in it, so if I need to go back and get more, I can, but I figured that would be enough to get me started. Fold the sheet over like twice, and then you work with a rounded edge, so I'm going to be scrubbing it like this. If you're working with a folded edge like this, it kind of gets stuck and keeps you from actually doing good sanding. So work with the folded edge, just again in that circular motion as we move along. And I've kind of been just going over it twice. Essentially I go down and then back up, and then I move sides, go down, back up, hose it off, check it out, see what it looks like. If I have to do more, I go down and back up again. Trying to like evenly disperse how much I sand, so I'm not sanding more in one particular area. I'm going to try to keep it all consistent. So hot in Florida right now, my gosh. It's not the heat that gets you, it's the humidity. And it is October, and it's still humid, and I'm sweating like a dog. Alright, so we're gonna hose this off and see what it looks like. A little bit of water. And it is getting finer and finer for sure, which is good. Again, we're trying to basically make it all one consistent amount of scratched. And then that Novus product is going to polish those fine scratches out. And I'm going to go ahead and do essentially double what I just did. So I'm going to start again and do another entire run all the way across this panel. I'll close it off again and see what it looks like. Alright y'all, so this is after the 2000 grit sandpaper. Sanding is done, in other words. So as you can see, we have a really fine milky haze on this side of the tank where I did all the sanding. If you want to compare it to the top of the tank, you can see if I can focus here. There we go. So those are significantly larger, deeper scratches that you're seeing on the top of the tank. That's similar to what that side panel looked like initially. And now, as you can see, it's all down to one fine, hazy kind of level. And that's what we were trying to achieve, is to get it all to one plane so that when we put our different compounds on there for buffing out those scratches, it's all done evenly and consistently. And so you have an idea of what that side would kind of look like. I'll come around here to the other side. And again, you can see it's clear, yes, but the scratches are deeper, they're significantly bigger, and that's what shows up when the tank is full, is you'll see those white fine scratches even with the tank full. Especially sometimes when you fill up the tank, it definitely helps with masking some of those smaller ones, but the bigger ones are what show through. And you know, this is a side. Usually the front face of the tanks are the ones that are more scratched because they get cleaned more often, obviously. The sides not so much, but definitely you can tell the difference. And that's just with the sanding done. We haven't even started with the Novus product. And as you can see, I have a lot to go and do. Lots of surface area. This one side took me probably about an hour, and what I did was using the 3 different grit sandpapers, I did going right, going left, going up, and going down, or obviously down and up. And I did that with all 3 grits probably about 3 times. So I did that 3 times with the 400, 3 times with the 1000, and 3 times with the 2000, and that's the end product. And you can definitely see, like I said, now that there's finer scratches, you can see some of the bigger ones that are on the outside of the tank that I'll touch up later on. But we're gonna go ahead and get our Novus product out here and start working with that and see what we can get with this one wall for right now. So starting with number 3 of the Novus heavy scratch remover. This is the product that you start with. They're all labeled for what they're for. It goes 3, 2, 1, 1 being the last one that you use to polish everything. We're going to apply this with the rags that came with the product. If you didn't get the entire kit, you can use like a microfiber cloth. You just want to make sure that there's, again, clean and no debris in it, because you are going to be rubbing it against the tank. Same thing, circular motion, essentially like we were doing with the sanding, only you're just kind of buffing this compound in around all the edges and the whole face of the inside, and then we'll move on to the next product. Now this product I read up on a decent bit. It is safe to use for aquariums, it's safe to use for aquatic life, freshwater and saltwater. One thing that you want to do, obviously, when you're done is rinse the tank out, maybe use a little bit of soap for like the corners where it could get clotted up a little bit. Try to get any residual product that's left off. I'm putting a glove on because, not really because it's going to be stingy or hazardous to my health necessarily, but because I was actually just laying tile and I have a bunch of scratches all over my hand, and I think it'll probably sting a little bit. So I'm I'm gonna start by just, again, with the rag that it came with, or just a regular clean rag. Put a little bit of product on here, not a whole lot. I've heard that a little bit goes a long way with this, and then we're just gonna try to reach in there. And it is dry. It's not wet anymore. There's a little bit of water down at the bottom. I'm gonna try to avoid that, but you want to put it on without any moisture and start buffing on the surface. This product definitely has a little bit of grit in it. I can already feel it. That, honestly, I was expecting, being the first one that we used. It's kind of like a buffing compound, so it's expected to have a little bit of texture to it. That helps, again, with the consistency of the glass to make sure that you're buffing it out evenly throughout the whole panel. And I'm not real sure how much I'm going to need or how long I have to buff it, so I'm going to kind of just take it in layers and do what feels like it's right. Just kind of go in a circular motion until it's kind of even and consistent. On some of the scratches that are bigger and deeper, instructions say to go at a right angle to them, so essentially perpendicular to those scratches, working it against the way that it's actually scratched. If it's scratched this way, I want to buff it this way, kind of deal. That you can do with deeper scratches. Looks like it's going on pretty evenly though, so I'm continuing my circular motion here to kind of just try to get it all consistent. This is kind of trial and error for me too, so hopefully we can all learn something here. I think what I'm going to do is go back over it with just an extra coat. That way I can be sure, and then I'm going to wipe it off and put the second one on. Actually, I'm going to use a couple on here. Yep, it's not nearly as easy as it was, and that's dry too. So I mean, that's, you can tell just from looking at earlier in the video that that's already clearer than it was after I sanded it. There's these little dots right here are really deep pits that are inside of the tank, and I'm not really up for sanding those down all the way, so I'm just gonna be satisfied with that. But that's great, because you can even see the edges are harder to get to, so you can see this is a lot more clear and the edges are a little more scratched up just because it's tough for me to get to them, but it's definitely working. So let's go ahead and get the second product on. Let's see what that does. Alright, number 2, fine scratch remover of the Novus system here, and same idea, I believe. Double check, clean surface, shake it well, etc. Says apply, polish, and circular motion until dry. Well, that's easy. Wow. So very fine grit instead of number 3 was a lot more coarse. So this is kind of doing this is like liquid sandpaper, I guess, which is the first one is more coarse, the second one is even finer, and the third one is probably so fine or none at all that it just takes all the scratches right out. So same idea. A little bit on here and buff around. It is definitely getting tackier, so this one more dries as you're using it versus the first one always kind of stays wet until the end. This one said buff until dry, so that's pretty dry already, and it's only been a few seconds. Honestly, almost all of it's gone. Can't even see it. And it said to do this until you get the results you want. So this could be a multiple coat process, depending on how quickly I see those fine, hazy scratches disappear. Should have gotten the rest of the water out of the tank, that's for sure. Noted. Yes, sir. That is good. Alright. Well, I think you can kind of see how much clearer it is, because that's tenfold better than what it was. Filming glass is probably not only the dumbest but hardest thing to try to do, because obviously you can see what's past it and the camera wants to focus on that. I guess if it's clear and it's focusing on what's past it, it's a good sign though. But that is tenfold better than what it was. You can even see, like I said, the corners that are a little bit harder to get. There's still a few finer scratches which I can kind of spot treat, as well as on the actual outside of the tank. There are some bigger scratches that I'll buff out as well, but wow, big difference for sure. So the third product is the final one, and I bet you it's going to be nearly back to original clarity once I put that on. Let's take a look. So you're not buffing this one in, all we're doing is just wiping it on the surface and then buffing it with a clean, soft, lint-free cloth immediately. So that's where those microfiber cloths come in, and I guess spread evenly over entire surface and then buff clean. Easy enough. It doesn't say how long to leave it, but I guess about as long as it takes to spray it. Well, this is a tricky angle. So, got just enough on there to kind of evenly coat the whole side, and now you just buff it off. Doesn't really feel like much, just feels like moisture, no different than water. I take it back, it's starting to get a little tacky. You can kind of feel some resistance. Yeah, as you get more off of it, it kind of gets a little more grippy and gets to be like a little bit more of a paste. Alrighty, that was the third and final product of the 3-part system for the Novus, and significantly clearer. You can tell just by looking through this panel up at the top panel how scratched that one is, and then this is, you probably can't even see it now, and there's no way I'm going to be able to focus on those scratches that are left, but there are a few. Let me see if I can focus. Nope. Oh, there we go. Alright, so see some of those fine scratches. That's like a pit, like I said, but you can see just a few little scratches left. Those ones are on the outside of the tank. And the fine ones that are like on the corner are up to me to try and basically buff those out as I go, because it's, like I said, a little difficult to get up into those corners. So essentially it's as much labor as you put into it are the results you're going to get out of it. So with the sanding, with the product, and all of it. The more you can do and the more consistent and thorough you are, the better. That's what the side used to look like, at least very similar. You can tell obviously that the top is way scratched, and then boom, hardly any scratches left. So I'm gonna do the whole tank now that I've kind of fine-tuned everything and get a gist of it. Maybe be a little bit more thorough with some of the buffing compounds, work them in a little bit more, and that'll help get rid of those bigger scratches. But overall, I'm pretty satisfied with everything. I'll say that worked very well. So excited to have the tank set up. Stay tuned, because we are going to set this tank up. We got the plants sitting inside, the fish sitting inside. They are waiting for their new habitat, and over the next couple of days we're going to be working on getting this inside on its stand and establishing the environment from scratch. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully this gave you some insight into how this works. Definitely give me a thumbs up if you thought it was helpful. I appreciate it. Go ahead and subscribe if you want to see more. Like I said, we're going to be setting up the tank, doing breeding with cichlids particularly, but lots of other fish as well. All kinds of aquarium information and fun little facts and jobs here throughout the whole thing. So stay tuned, and thanks for watching.